The NHRA Winston Drag Racing Series travels across the United States with 19 stops a year at the nation's premier drag racing facilities with over $17 million on the line. The first race of the season was at the historic Los Angeles County Fairplex track at Pomona, California, the Chief Auto Parts Winter Nationals. Their Top Fuel Eliminator was dominated by the consistency of Gary Ormsby. A string of 5.0-second elapsed times carried Ormsby to the eventual championship over Frank Bradley. For more than 2 decades, Bruce Larson has been traveling down the quarter-mile racetracks of America. When Larson defeated the tire-smoking 4-time Winston champion Kenny Bernstein in the final round, it marked his second-ever championship win. For the 9-time Pro Stock champion Bob Glidden, the Winter Nationals started the new season as he finished the last on a winning note. It was Glidden's Ford Probe against the Pontiac of Frank Iaconio, with Glidden taking his record-setting 68th event title. Now the second race of the year brings the world's finest drag racers to the world's quickest racetrack, Houston Raceway Park near Baytown, Texas, and the second annual Fram Supernationals. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and welcome to Houston. It was at the inaugural event here 1 year ago that the record book was rewritten, including the 4.93-second elapsed time by Eddie Hill, the world's quickest ever. Was the high point of Eddie Hill's drag racing career. The low point occurred just a month and a half ago when, in qualifying for this year's Winter Nationals in Pomona, California, this incident happened. Miraculously, the Texan walked away from this horrifying crash, suffering only minor cuts and bruises. Hill returned home to Texas, rebuilt a car he had last run in 1987, and came to Houston to battle with the latest state-of-the-art cars. Hill's talent prevailed as he wheeled the short wheelbase car to an all-time record speed of 291.82 miles an hour. That speed, coupled with his 4.93-second elapsed time in the finals of last year's Super Nationals, makes him the quickest and fastest driver in the sport. The early qualifying sessions of Funny Car Eliminator yielded the quickest elapsed time ever recorded as the 4-time Winston champion Don Prudhomme blasted his Pontiac Trans Am through the quarter mile at the time of 5.19 seconds. This marked the first time any funny car has run a quarter mile at a time less than 5.2 seconds. There's a great day of racing on tap today. This is the second weekend of the Fram Supernationals. The first fell to record-shattering cold weather, forcing the postponement. For more on today's excitement, here's my good friend, Steve Evans.
Well, Dave, here you see hard at work Fuzzy Carter, crew chief for Eddie Hill, but he's not preparing the yellow dragster for more competition this weekend. He's getting ready for the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida next weekend, because earlier today in round 1 top fuel action up against Jim Head, a fuel line separated at the front of the motor. This fuel line. No nitro into the engine completely burned up. Head went on and advanced to round number 2. Now, everybody was talking certainly about Eddie's big numbers, but a race was held also in round 1 earlier today that had everyone standing, even the hardcore racers. For the first time, 3-time Winston Top Fuel champ Shirley Muldowney met up with young Texas phenom 23-year-old Lori Johns, only the second female opponent she's had in championship drag racing. Before they buckled up, I talked to both women. Shirley, the fans have been looking forward to your first race with Lori Johns side by side. The media has been hyping it. How do you feel about it?
Well, we talked about it last night, and we're going to drive our own race. Actually, first round, we're going to get by that, and then we're going to worry about the real competition.
Well, I don't think any round is easy, and I never look at anybody as being that way. I feel like every time you pull up to the starting line, you've got to get past that before you can go on to anything else. And that's the way I look at that, is this is the biggest race of the day, and when I get past this one, that'll be the biggest race of the day, because you can't go any farther till you get past the first one.
The media has had a field day with the potential of this contest someday. Well, it was time to quit racing in the newspapers and do it on the drag strip. Shirley Muldowney was off the starting line first, as she so often is. Suddenly, she lost traction. Then a fiery engine explosion. It was Lori Johns all the way. At the far end, I talked to a jubilant Lori Johns and a more determined than ever Shirley Muldowney.
I'm so glad things went the way it did. I think we did it exactly right. And I wanted her to be comfortable and not come back and say that I tried to do anything to not make this right. And you know, I just wanted to let her do her deal and have it work out perfectly, and it did.
All's right with Lori Johns. Well, Shirley Muldowney, David, certainly did her job. She was off the starting line 0.06 of a second ahead of Lori Johns, and then, well, compounded problems.
Yeah, I really don't know. It started to shake just a little bit, and I figured I'd drive it through that, and then it blew the tires off, and I really don't know why we had so much damage here, but we'll get our day. We'll get our day.
Thanks, Shirley. Among other upsets in round one earlier today, Darrell Gwynn had the same kind of problem Shirley Muldowney did. He smoked the tires, and Frank Cook took advantage of that to advance to round number 2. In funny car, your big upset had to be John Force, always a crowd favorite. He was off the mark first against Tom Hoover, but Hoover outran him. So as Buzzy Carter continues to get ready for Gainesville and the Gator Nationals next week, it's time for us to watch the second round of Top Fuel. David?
Steve, kicking off action in round number 2 is the surprising Rudy Topke from Dardanelle, Arkansas. Surprising because he qualified with a 5.05 second elapsed time. In a tune and test day prior to final eliminations, Rudy Topke ran a 5.00 second elapsed time. Alongside of him is the longtime racer out of the Dallas, Texas area, Frank Cook. Frank also a bit of a surprise. He qualified that Gunite Express car in the 5.050 range. And those times have become practically commonplace. Topke with his 5.05, that was good for number 6 qualifying spot. He beat Mike Brotherton in round number 1. We saw Frank Cook upset Darrell Gwynn in the first round of competition. His 5.09 qualifying time put him in the number 10 spot. As both drivers approach the starting line, they are now concentrating on that electronic starting device. Down track just a few feet. It's known as the Christmas tree. As they get properly set on the racetrack, starter Buster Couch throws the switch, a green light comes on, and Rudy Topke goes up in smoke. Frank Cook with a good run, 5.07 second elapsed time. His speed over 273 miles an hour. And the surprising Frank Cook into the semifinals of the Fram Supernationals. Back on the starting line, our next pair fired and ready to go. Here is the reigning Winston champion, Joe Amato, in the far lane. He will race Jim Head. Let's go to the far end of the track. Steve's with Frank Cook.
You know, Dave, I said a long time ago, if the motor is right, you could put it in an aluminum ladder, and it might run 5.07, Frank.
Well, Steve, thank God.
Are we having fun?
We worked hard. Yeah, we're having a ball. I'd just like to thank Chris Cagle and Leroy Hess and everybody. Dave Saddles has helped us straighten this deal out, and Tony Ledford and everybody involved.
Boy, it's running consistent, too. That's the thing you need.
All I got to do is just try to do my job. We'll be all right.
You're doing that wonderfully. Frank Cook. Boy, this is just a great story.
Steve, Frank certainly seems to be enjoying himself at the ripe old age of 50. While the 5.0 times may have become commonplace, there is still something magical about a 4-second elapsed time. And Joe Amato is the only racer thus far to record one that put him in the number 1 qualifying position. He is racing here in round number 2. Jim Head, the man that upset Eddie Hill in round number 1. Head's car has yet to be painted. That is unpainted magnesium with a treatment on it to keep it from oxidizing. Joe Amato had lots of work between rounds. He broke the engine that he called Thunder in that first round race. This is a new engine, somewhat untested. There may be a question mark. A close racing by a car length. Joe Amato defeats Jim Henn. His elapsed time, 5.09 seconds at over 281 miles an hour. As we watch again, you can see there was practically no advantage given to either driver off the starting line. Head in the near lane, Amato in the far lane, even at this point. And then Joe Amato and his new engine performing perfectly took the win.
Well, after all the tire smoke we saw in round number 1, every time you go to the starting line, there's a big question mark in your mind as to whether the car is going to stick. And Joe Amato, this car stuck beautifully to a 5.09.
Well, Steve, it's still better than an 11 we ran last time, but the track is treacherous. You know, you're trying to give it enough horsepower to get down the track, but not smoke the tires. You know, the cars are all running so close. This is anybody's race.
The 1989 NHRA Fram Supernationals is being brought to you by Fram, Bendix Autolite, all quality parts of Allied Automotive, and by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Even though he lost in round 1 racing, Eddie Hill and his wife Ursi, still one of the most popular pair on any racetrack. More Top Fuel action in a moment.
If you're looking for a rotor or a windshield wiper motor, yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
If you've got the smarts, then it's the place for parts.
Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
Why run around town when they've got it all down at CarQuest?
Take it from Roy Clark and the repairmen. If it's a really tough part, then don't lose heart. Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
In the funny car pit area of Don Prudhomme, a new engine being installed in the Pontiac Trans Am. You remember, you saw him run the 5.19 in qualifying. Well, he has not come close to that since, and he hurt the engine in the first round race. He'll be ready for round number 2 of funny car action coming up later. Right now, it is Top Fuel Eliminator and Gary Ormsby, the man that won the Winter Nationals just a month and a half ago, racing the surprising Laurie Johns and the Jolly Rancher Candy Special out of Corpus Christi, Texas. This Top Fuel car, the latest in a series of rides for the young lady. She started her career in Sportsman competition, working up to the Top Fuel ranks. While the 5.0s may have become commonplace here, they have not for Gary Ormsby, the Winter Nationals champion. The best he's been able to run, a 5.11. Laurie Johns qualified in the number 17 spot. She was placed in the program when Robert Reel was unable to return for the second weekend of competition. The race delayed 1 week because of the unseasonably cold weather that struck the Houston area on the original weekend. Ormsby in the far lane, Laurie Johns in the near lane. Ormsby with a huge advantage at the start. And he outran Laurie Johns down the quarter mile of 5.11. Very consistent. That was the same time he turned in round number 1 when he defeated Richard Holcomb. Laurie Johns had a 5.13 on this run, but the victory went to Gary Ormsby with his sharp driving skills right at the start.
He had nearly a car-length lead at the halfway mark, and as they neared the finish line, he extended that even further.
We all know it's against NHRA rules to have a computer-driven or computer-controlled automobile, but the consistency of Gary Ormsby, well, it's computer-like, Gary. A great job of 511.
Thank you. Actually, I think everybody just kind of went down. We're running what we run all through qualifying, so, but that's exactly right. We ran a 511 last time. We was hoping it'd run a little better this time. But.
And just as, like Pomona, a tremendous hole shot, another great reaction time. This car, it moves when you tell it to.
It sure does, Steve. When you step on the throttle, it reacts.
And some cars do not.
No, they don't. I had one of those.
And got rid of it quick.
Gary Ormsby verifying what a lot of racers feel, that their cars have personalities just like people. Out on the racetrack, the final pair of round number 2 top fuel competition. This is Connie Coletta. He is the speed record holder in NHRA competition at over 291 miles an hour. He hails from Ypsilanti, Michigan. His competition is the operator of the drag racing school in Gainesville, Florida, Frank Hawley, two-time Winston champion at the wheel of the Chi-Town Hustler funny car. Now he is comfortably seated in the cockpit of Larry Minor's Miller Highlight Special. Coletta in the far lane. And Coletta instantly goes up in smoke when the tree flashes green. Hawley crosses the finish line with a subpar 538, indicating engine problems on that race car. What a break, though, for Hawley. As the Coletta Flying Services car lost traction at the start, he was no competition. That sets up the semifinal race between Joe Amato and Frank Hawley. Amato, with a quicker elapsed time, has the lane choice. Frank Cook races Gary Ormsby. Cook having his choice of lanes in the semifinals. I would suspect that the crew for Frank Hawley's race car has got lots of work ahead of them to get that car ready.
With the kind of luck Frank Hawley is enjoying, Dave, I don't think I want to get into any kind of gambling game with him. In the 530s, another big break.
You know, there's one thing that's kind of good today, and that's that Larry's not here to see all the stuff that we're tearing up.
Car owner Larry Minor.
Yeah, let it be known that I'm well aware of the fact that this thing was hurt long before I ever lifted off the throttle, but some days it's your day, and I saw Conrad obviously smoke the tires or had some kind of problem like he did against us at Pomona. But the only thing I'm afraid of is we want to win the World Championship this year, and I don't want to use up every bit of luck I've got in one weekend.
Well, Steve, we'll see if that luck holds up for Frank Hawley. Now on the starting line, it is time for the first race of round number 2 competition in Funny Car Eliminator. Here is the 4-time Winston champion, the Budweiser King, Kenny Bernstein. Against Bernstein in this second round race is the surprising Art Hendy. The team of Hendy and Worsham from San Bernardino, California, got by the first round when they defeated Chris Lane. That's the Sutherland family's entry. And Hendy, now in round number 2, has got to race the toughest of them all. Only the second man in the history of the sport to win 4 consecutive Winston titles. Don Prudhomme did it first back in the mid-70s, and now Kenny Bernstein has been the driver of the 80s. Kenny gives a great deal of credit to that man, his crew chief Dale Armstrong. Bernstein qualified with a 5.30 second elapsed time, good for number 4. Art Hendy had a 5.37 second time. That was good for the number 8 spot. Hendy, like so many other racers, Joe Amato and Darrell Quinn included, had a successful career in alcohol competition before making the switch to the professional categories. Bernstein in the near lane. Both cars have problems. They slow, and Hendy recovers. Hendy pulls ahead and pulls off the upset. It is Art Hendy with a very slow but winning 6.78 second elapsed time as Bernstein apparently falls victim to mechanical problems. We'll be right back with more funny car action at the Fram Supernationals.
He flew through the air with the greatest of ease, and then disaster struck. Now, in a death-defying pay-per-view cable TV extravaganza, Evel Knievel's son Robbie attempts to succeed where Evel and daredevil Gary Wells failed. Successfully leap the fountains at Caesar's Palace. Like father, like son, it all depends on the landing. Friday, April 14th, live, only on pay-per-view cable TV.
Hi, I'm Evel Knievel. Witness Robbie's jump here on Rogers' First Choice.
Wish me luck.
More events, more news. We're the Weekend Sports Network for the serious fan. We're FNN Score.
NASCAR drivers go head-to-head with danger at the world's fastest half-mile track, the Valleydale 500 from Bristol International Raceway, Sunday at 1 Eastern, live on ESPN.
It's a warm day here at Houston Raceway Park near Baytown, Texas, and the Fram Supernationals as the crew for Frank Cook, top fuel dragster, gets that car ready to race against Gary Ormsby. That top fuel action will be coming up in just a few minutes. Right now on the track, it is the continuation of round 2 of funny car racing. Ed McCulloch against Mark Oswald. A new national record has already been established in qualifying by Mark Oswald at the wheel of the Candies in Hughes' car. He set the elapsed time record and backed it up within the required 1% at 5.29 seconds elapsed time. McCulloch qualified in the number 7 spot at a 5.34 second time for his Miller High Life Oldsmobile. You may ask with good reason why Don Prudhomme with a 5.19 second elapsed time in the number 1 qualifying spot does not hold the new national record. The reason? He has yet to back it up within the required 1% at the same event. Oswald pulls ahead of McCulloch at the start. A close race at the finish line. Oswald 5.33 seconds elapsed time, a losing 5.40. Both racers over 270 miles an hour. As we watch again in slow motion, you can see both drivers leave the starting line with almost identical reaction time. Oswald in the Ford Probe in the near lane pulled ahead by nearly a half a car length at the middle of the course. McCulloch fell back a few feet further, and by a car length, Oswald won the race.
Mark Oswald, a hard-fought victory, goes now to the semifinals of 5 in the 530s.
Thank you, Steve. We were a little worried out there. I got towards the center line about 300 feet out and was spinning the tires, and I got it back over in the center and fortunately hung on to the win.
Did you just steer it, or did you have to get off the pedal at the same time?
No, I just steered it over. I just stayed on it and steered it over.
While the racetrack may only be a quarter of a mile long, a lot of action could take place for the driver at the wheel of one of these 4,000 horsepower funny cars. This is Bruce Larson, the man that upset Kenny Bernstein in the final round of the recent Winter Nationals, the season opening event. Larson qualified here at the Supernationals in the number 5 spot with a 5.30 to race here in round 2 against the quickest of them all, Don Prudhomme, who's had a 5.19 but has yet to get close to it in subsequent runs. Under the watchful eye of starter Buster Couch, Don Prudhomme pulls the Skoal Bandit Pontiac into the staging beam. Bruce Larson has the choice of lanes, and it may have paid off as Prudhomme goes up in smoke. Larson through the quarter mile, the quickest time of eliminations, and a new national record for Bruce Larson, 5.27 seconds. His earlier time serve as the 1% backup for Bruce Larson, the new national record holder for elapsed time. Our next pair, the engines fired and running, are pulling into the water area where they start the burnout procedure. Scott Coletta, the second half of the Coletta Flying Services team. You saw his dad earlier, Connie, who drives the top fuel dragster. Here's Tom Hoover at the wheel of the Champion Auto Store's Pontiac Trans Am. It was just one round of racing ago that Hoover pulled off the big upset of that round when he defeated John Force. At the far end, Steve is with Bruce Larson.
May I introduce to you the new NHRA national record holder for elapsed time.
Wow.
5:27.
Oh, that's great. Thanks a lot for being the guy to tell me.
You betcha. My pleasure. You already had the backup run from qualifying. 200 bonus Winston points. Wow.
Oh, it feels good. We've been having some problems with burning pistons at the end of the runs, and I finally decided to just run it the whole way through.
So many people looking at the racetrack and the tire smokes have been conservative. Not your truth.
No. We knew where we were from that time run we got yesterday. Here come my guys. They get a lot of the credit.
The quickest crew in all of drag racing.
After more than 20 years in this sport, it's an incredible start of the new season for Bruce Larson. The Winter Nationals win, and now a new national record. Scott Galetta backing up into the tracks left by those tires on the long, smoky burnout. It is rubber against rubber as Galetta pulls to the line. He qualified number 6 with a 5.32 second elapsed time. Over the number 10 qualifier had a 5:43, but that was quickly exceeded by his fine 5:36 in the first round. Over with problems at the start. Galetta goes up in smoke. He brings the car under control and pulls through the finish line, the winner in a rather strange race. Galetta with a 7.60 second elapsed time. That moves him into the semifinals where he will race Art Hendy. Now bear in mind, even though Hendy has the lane choice, his second round race was nothing outstanding. His time only a 6:78. The other side of the ladder finds the new national record holder Bruce Larson with lane choice over Mark Oswald. In the top fuel pit area of Frank Hawley, work going on to repair the engine that Frank Hawley admitted he may have pushed a bit too far. More action from the Fram Supernationals coming up next.
Wherever dirt goes, you know it's up to no good, especially when dirt goes for your car. So when it comes to stopping dirt, more people go with Fram. Because no air filter traps more dirt than Fram. It's the #1 way to stop dirt in its tracks.
Oh, no!
Oh, yeah. Fram, the end of the road for dirt.
Wouldn't it be great if you could finance a new Kawasaki and put 0 down? And what if you could have up to 60 months to pay? And even better, get a yes or no answer in as little as 5 minutes. The Good Times Credit Plan from your Kawasaki dealer.
Back at the Fram Supernationals at Houston Raceway Park, I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans. I've always known there was a reason for Steve's success. Let's let him explain it to you.
You know, Dave, it's really nice sometimes when a fan will stop me in the pits and say, boy, Evans, you sure know a lot about NHRA championship drag racing, about the cars and the drivers. I usually tell them, well, you know, I really pay attention. I study all the statistics at home, and of course I have a photographic memory. Time to tell the truth. The secret weapon is right here. National Dragster, NHRA's weekly publication. And like every other NHRA member, I get this 48 weeks a year in my own mailbox. Now, studying up for this race, here it was, the flashback of the Fram Supernationals. I went over the next race in the schedule. Well, that's right here, Gainesville, so I know I got to be there. Okay, what else do I need to know? I need to know the points. Well, that's always in here, all the Winston points. How do I know what the racers are thinking? Yep. They write columns right in National Dragster. And, of course, all the color photography that they're so famous for. And you know what? You really should join NHRA if you like drag racing at all. And here's a number you can call and a very special price. Now, this is just one of the many benefits, National Dragster. And if you order right now or join right now, we'll send you our award-winning Decade of Thrills home video, hosted by yours truly and Don the Snake Verdum. In fact, Decade of Thrills originally sold for more than the NHRA membership, so you can't lose on this deal. And McClellan, fess up. National Dragster's your Bible, too. I know it.
Steve, you promised you would never reveal our secrets. Here now is the semifinal round of Pro Stock Eliminator. It is Morris Johnson Jr. in the far lane of the racetrack at the wheel of the Pontiac against the Oldsmobile of Larry Morgan. The Castrol GTX car finished qualifying at the top of the list with a 7.29 second elapsed time to his credit. Earlier today, in the second round of Pro Stock competition, Morris Johnson Jr., the number 3 qualifier with a 7:31, raced the Dodge of Darrell Alderman out of Fairfield, Illinois, who surprised everyone with the Excite Edge car qualifying in the number 7 spot with a 7:34. But the red light in round number 2 gave the win automatically to Morris Johnson Jr., who had a 7.31 second time. That win advanced Johnson to the semifinals to race against Larry Morgan, who in round number 2 earlier raced another Johnson. No relation. This is Warren Johnson, the driver of the AC Delco Oldsmobile from Duluth, Georgia. The man they call WJ had a 7:33 in qualifying, good for the number 5 spot. Warren Johnson had a slight advantage at the start, but Morgan's Oldsmobile made lots of horsepower. He drove right around WJ with a 7.34 second time. That put him into the semifinals, where Morris Johnson Jr. has the choice of lane. The Pontiac is in the far lane of the track, Morgan in the near lane. 500 cubic inches of Pontiac for Johnson, 500 cubic inches of Oldsmobile for Morgan, and a red light start by Morgan. What an upset as Morris Johnson Jr. watches his competition red light away his chance to move to the finals. It will be Morris Jr. in the final round of Pro Stock Eliminator with a 7.33 second elapsed time. Now back in the pit area, here's a sight you seldom see. After the second round of competition, the bright red Buick Riata of Kenny Bernstein headed to the trailer. It was a broken rear end, a broken differential that put Bernstein out of that second round race. And here's the man that benefited from those mechanical problems, Art Hendy. He races Scott Coletta in the semifinals. Steve?
Well, let the story of the Fram Supernationals tell that even though his opponents continue to red light against him, it's mainly because you've got the performance. You're scaring him to death, a 7:33.
Well, we slowed up a little bit. The performance is still pretty good. I'm real tickled with that and really looking forward to going into the finals.
Anything you've learned in this race just now that you can tell your crew and say, hey, guys, let's do this, do that?
Yeah, I think combinations in the tires and the clutch adjustment still, and we'll go back and make a couple adjustments, hopefully run a 28 in the final.
28, you heard it here first.
Steve, we'll find out in just a moment who he races when we come back to the Fram Supernationals.
Some boys like to play rough with their toys. Those who don't get over this grow up and become off-road racers, like Walker Evans, 8-time winner of the grueling Baja 1000. Of course, now Walker has someone to make sure his toys don't break. Crew Chief Randy Anderson. For spark plugs, Randy relies on only one brand, Autolite. Because Randy knows for a plug as tough as Autolite, this kind of punishment is mere child's play.
Fasten your seatbelts. Hold on to your hats. It's time for Thursday Night Thunder. Speed Week starts the evening in the pole position with the most comprehensive motorsports news show ever. Then the madness begins with off-road racing, truck and tractor pulls, mud bogging, drag racing, and live USAC midgets. Every week, enjoy the car-crushing and bone-breaking excitement of Thursday Night Thunder. Only on ESPN.
The new national elapsed time record holder, Bruce Larson, helping his crew prepare the Sentry TAC Engage's Oldsmobile funny car for the semifinal race against the man he took the record away from, Mark Oswald. That'll be coming up in a few moments. Right now, Bob Glidden and the Motorcraft Ford Probe get set to do battle in the semifinals against Bruce Allen. This is one of those classic battles between makes of vehicles. Ford for Glidden, Chevrolet for Bruce Allen. Earlier in the second round of competition, Allen at the wheel of the Levi Garrett Chevy Beretta met the Pennzoil Pontiac of Jerry Ekman. Allen qualified with a 7.32 second elapsed time for number 4. Ekman, number 16 qualifier at a 7:37. Allen had a great start off the line, but Ekman made a race out of it. It was a 7.30 second ET for Allen, a 7:32 for Ekman. That put Allen into the semifinals against this man, Bob Glidden of Whiteland, Indiana. Earlier, Glidden in the second round raced the AC Delco Pontiac of Butch Leal. Always highly regarded for his starting line ability, Leal proved it in this race against Glidden, who was carrying our onboard camera in this second round race. Leal in the far lane got 25/100ths of a second advantage off the start, but as Glidden pulled the levers down that quarter mile, his Ford pulled ahead. He recorded a 7.31 second elapsed time and moved into the semifinals against Bruce Allen. Once again, Glidden is carrying our onboard cameras for this all-important race against Bruce Allen. The Chevrolet of Allen pulls forward into the staging beam. Look through the window netting on Glidden's Ford. You can see the Chevy Beretta of Bruce Allen. What a close race. At the end of the quarter mile, Bob Glidden in one of the quickest side-by-side races ever recorded in Pro Stock. 7.26 second elapsed time for Glidden, a 7:29 for Bruce Allen. As we watch again, Glidden had 1/100th of a second advantage at the start. As they neared the middle of the course, it was still a fairly even race. But gradually, Glidden and the Ford began to pull ahead until at the finish line by nearly a car length, Bob Glidden had defeated Bruce Allen and advanced into the final round of the Fram Supernationals to race Morris Johnson Jr. Glidden, by virtue of his quicker elapsed time, has the choice of lane.
Bob Glidden, you love history. You were just part of the quickest side-by-side Pro Stock race in history. You've reset your own national record at 7:26. You're going to the final round. That's all the good news I have.
That's enough good news, Steve. You know,
well, you got lane choice.
We were concerned about Bruce. Bruce's driving, as I said earlier, has been excellent. He's had a little bit of an edge on us all day. We made some guesses. The boys thought we should make some changes. We did, and apparently they proved out to be right for us.
The aerodynamically enhanced TRW special of Joe Amato coming up next at the Fram Supernationals.
If you're looking for a rotor or a windshield wiper motor, yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
If you've got the smarts, then it's the place for parts.
Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
Why run around town when they've got it all down at CarQuest?
Take it from Roy Clark and the repairmen. If it's a really tough part, then don't lose heart. Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
Wouldn't it be great if you could finance a new Kawasaki and put $0 down? And what if you could have up to 60 months to pay? And even better, get a yes or no answer in as little as 5 minutes. The Good Times Credit Plan from your Kawasaki dealer.
Who's that?
Our neighbor, Orrin. Ever since he got his new Murray, he's been mowing the whole neighborhood.
When you pay good money for a mower, you want it to be tough and dependable.
Does such a good job, we're making the yard bigger. What? Does such a
Murray
good...
mowers are as tough as they come, cutting after cutting after cutting.
That Murray's a good buy.
What?
Goodbye.
Oh, say hello to Edna.
Murray mowers, tough as they come.
There's a rough road ahead with no end in sight. Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single American, European, and Japanese car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
So pistons are protected from friction mile after mile. Valves are protected from wear year in, year out.
That's why Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
At Houston Raceway Park and the Fram Supernationals were set for the semifinal round of Top Fuel Eliminator. It is Joe Amato, the #1 qualifier, the only driver to reach the magic 4-second bracket at this race thus far against Frank Hawley. The huge crowd on hand here at Houston Raceway Park knows the amount of work put in by the crew on Frank Hawley's car, and they apparently have those motor problems solved. Amato and his crew chief, Tim Richards, always trying something new. the latest, those side pods in front of the rear wheels. Earlier between rounds, Steve took a look at them.
David, there appears to be many benefits to these carbon fiber ground effect side pods on Amato's car. First of all, of course, there's downforce for traction, but not just for traction. Also, the front end benefits from the downforce. Keeps it settled on the pavement, may reduce wheel standing. Now, by using free air here that the rear tires are blocking anyway for that downforce, they feel they can take some of the attack out of the rear wing, which in many ways acts as an anchor. Now, they have asked us not to show the underneath of these pods, but you can clearly see that air flowing over here will also help streamline those rear tires. Boy, there's a lot here to think about for other teams.
And Steve, it wouldn't surprise me to see similar devices attached to other race cars in the very near future. Amato with a 5:09 in the second round of competition has got the lane choice. He's selected the lane nearest the camera. All he can only hope that his engine problems are solved after the work between rounds. A good race as Amato pulls it out at the very end. 5.04 seconds at 285 miles an hour. Joe Amato advances to the final round of the Supernationals. Here is the surprising Frank Cook. While he moved into the cockpit of a top fuel dragster only at the end of last season, Cook can hardly be called a rookie in this sport of championship drag racing. His driving experience dates back nearly 30 years. Racing against Cook is Gary Ormsby, winner of the Winter Nationals. Now let's go to Steve with Joe Amato.
Well, you can hear in the background. Who do you think he'll face in the final round?
Well, probably Ormsby. He's been running more steady as far as leaving the line, which is real important here. But you never know. I hope he loses because he's ahead in the points right now. And we're looking at, it's a long way till the end, but the World Championship is still dangling out there on the carrot stick.
Well, headed for a final that makes up a little bit for the first round loss at Pomona.
Yeah, we smoked the tires over there, but we're playing with new stuff this year, And anytime you're going forward, sometimes you stumble. And hopefully we can regroup, and that's a sign of a true champion.
We'll see you in the final.
Thank you.
Amato, the reigning Winston champion, already concerned about the points earned by his competitors, and there's 17 races yet to go in this Winston championship season. Frank Cook rolls forward to position himself for the start. Ormsby in the Castrol GTX car in the near lane does the same. And again, the lightning quick reaction of Ormsby. Cook up in smoke. Ormsby to the final round with an elapsed time of 5.08 seconds. His speed, 278 miles an hour. And certainly the most exciting day of drag racing ever for Frank Cook. Joe Amato will race Gary Ormsby in the finals. Amato by 0.04 of a second, and the quicker elapsed time, he'll have the lane choice.
A truck without a gem top is like a house without a roof. Whether it's the futuristic Polytop, formed from polymers for weather-resistant durability and clean good looks, or the sleek yet rugged Navajo, whose aerodynamic polymer design actually increases your gas mileage, you get the finest quality top available, made by the company that's been building tops for 43 years. Take advantage of our Price Buster Plus deals. The Polytop for your compact, only $619, or the Navajo for your compact, only $669. Both specials include paint and your choice of front end. Call today. At Gem Top, you and quality are #1. Having your car towed is a drag, but if it must be done, call Portland Auto Care, featuring safe, economical roll-on trucks. For just $18.95, Portland Auto Care will move your car the first 4 miles, each additional mile only $1.50. Portland Auto Care is your full-service company who pride themselves on fast, courteous service. They'll even change a flat tire, bring you gas, and much, much more. So if it's one of those days, call Portland Auto Care 24 hours a day at 282-4492. Portland Auto Care, we care about your auto.
An enthusiastic crowd awaiting the continuation of competition here at the Fram Supernationals. Meantime, Steve has had a chance to catch up with one of our Top Fuel finalists, Gary Ormsby.
Well, Gary Ormsby continues his rampage in Top Fuel Eliminator. Gary, a 5:08.
It was about time, wasn't it? We were kind of stuck on that 5:11, I think. We made some adjustments there, and it seemed to work.
No lane choice for you?
No, I don't think it's that big a factor here, though.
They always say that.
Yeah, well, I really don't think so. We run pretty good in both lanes.
Okay, we'll see you in the final.
Thanks, Steve.
Ormsby obviously confident about his ability to extend his lead in the Winston Championship chase. Now it is time for the semifinals of Funny Car Eliminator. Scott Coletta in the far lane. Art Hendy in the near lane. And it is Hendy with the choice of lanes. You recall back 1 round to go, Scott Coletta had problems. He lost traction in his race against Tom Hoover. He was able to recover and cross the finish line first, but his elapsed time suffered because of the tire smoke. Hendy this time smokes the tires. Coletta with problems. And it's a coasting race. Who's got the most momentum? Whose car rolls easier? It's Coletta across the finish line. And what a way to go to the final round. Scott Coletta with an 11:21 elapsed time. One of the slowest semifinal races I have ever seen. Meanwhile, at the starting line, Bruce Larson, the new national record holder, has a 5.27 second elapsed time. In the previous round, he has the choice of lanes over his competition, Mark Oswald, at the wheel of the Motorcraft Ford Probe of Candies and Hughes. This could be a great race. It was Oswald who set the elapsed time record in qualifying, only to have it taken away from him by Bruce Larson just 1 round to go. Now let's go to Steve with Scott Coletta.
No have no yeah.
All right, Scott Coletta, Dave, reporting to his crew that he thinks he broke a rear end. It sounded like it.
Oh, yeah, I know I did. I mean, it went out there, and it was running good, and then all of a sudden it went, yip, motor come up, and I went, wow, I don't see him. I stepped back, I went, whoop, went up again. Well, I don't see him yet. I tried it again. I knew it wasn't going to do nothing, but I tried it again.
You kept waiting for him to come by.
Oh, yeah, and nothing happened. So I said, boy, I'm lucky. Maybe it's my day finally.
The 25-year-old Scott Coletta has yet to win an NHRA national event. He will race one of these two drivers, either Mark Oswald in the far lane or Bruce Larson in the near lane. Looking on behind Larson is his teammate, Joe Amato, who's already in the finals, and Oswald up in smoke. Bruce Larson goes into the final round for the second race in a row. Larson's time, 5.33 seconds. His speed, only 244 miles an hour, as he will be facing Scott Coletta and having the choice of lanes in the finals of Funny Car Eliminator. Meanwhile, in the Top Fuel pit area, under the very capable direction of crew chief Lee Beard, it's all business as they prepare Gary Ormsby's car to race Joe Amato in the Top Fuel final. Steve?
Well, just like Gary Ormsby, Bruce Larson goes into his second consecutive final round. Those are sweet-sounding words.
Oh, it feels real good.
What do you think the car ran?
Well, I shut it off a little early because it seemed to lay down, so I'd say it probably ran about a 29, something like that.
Close, 5:33.
5:33, okay.
You've got lane choice.
Right, we're real pleased.
You got all the cards from where I stand.
It's never over till it's over, but we think we know where we are.
Boy, in this sport, how true that is. Bruce Larson, boy, he's amassing those Winston points, Dave.
And Steve, he's got a smile on his face as he heads to the finals of the Fram Supernationals.
Some boys grow up and still love to play in the dirt. One of those boys is Walker Evans, winningest driver in off-road history. But even though Walker is all grown up now, he still has someone looking after him. Crew Chief Randy Anderson. When it comes to oil filters, air filters, and fuel filters, Randy uses nothing but Fram. Why only Fram? Because this is no place to be fooling around with kid stuff.
Thursday Night Thunder rages on.
Oh, hang on, Andy.
Daring USAC midgets and sprints cap off a great night of racing tonight at 10 Eastern live on ESPN.
The shadows are beginning to lengthen over Houston Raceway Park as the racers are preparing for the finals of the Fram Supernationals. Earlier, Steve took a look at a very special entry.
Throughout this Fram Supernationals, fans have been treated to some tremendous racing among over 600 cars in the NHRA Sportsman categories. Now, one car that has attracted a lot of attention is this beautiful Oldsmobile-powered A Altered. It is being fielded by a Swedish team led by Michael Malmgren. 5 Swedes came over here. They brought their own engine, their own transmission, even their own painter to apply these beautiful colors. Now, they figured they could build a car in the States for what it would cost to ship their car from Sweden. So that they have done. And they're only running this one race. They're out of money and headed home, taking the car with them to over 8 different racetracks throughout Sweden, Finland, and Germany. Drag racing very, very popular all over the world these days. Now, for how Michael did with the Swedish team and for the results of all the Sportsman categories, here again is Dave McClellan.
Well, Steve Evans, Michael and the Swedes were beaten in the second round by the eventual winner and competition eliminator, John Polk. You're looking at Raymond Martin's 4-cylinder powered dragster. Polk is in the opposite lane. The race decided in the starting line area as Raymond Martin red-lighted John Polk the champion. Jim Boudreau was the Super Stock winner. James Cairo winning his first ever Stock Eliminator title. Dave Billingsley, the champion in Super Gas. Charles Bubba Scott winning Super Comp. And Pizza John Mafaro, the Pro Stock Motorcycle champ. Jay Payne won Top Alcohol Dragster, and it was a very special moment in Top Alcohol Funny Car. Brad Anderson in the near lane. Don Gay was in the far lane. The young Gay appeared to have a slight advantage at that point, but it was Brad Anderson in the finals. 6 flat, the quickest time ever by an alcohol funny car. And our congratulations go to all the Sportsman champions at the Fram Supernationals. Time now for the finals in Pro Stock Eliminator. Once again, we are riding with Bob Glidden as he faces the Pontiac of Morris Johnson Jr. Glidden, with the choice of lanes, has taken the lane nearest the camera. But as you heard Gary Ormsby explain, he feels the lanes are practically equal. Glidden rolls forward. He's set. Glidden pulling the levers on the planetary type transmission and pulls ahead with the quickest elapsed time ever by a Pro Stock. 7.25 seconds and a new national record at over 190 miles an hour. Bob Glidden has defeated Morris Johnson Jr. As we watch in replay, you can see the advantage that was gained by Glidden at the start, some 200ths of a second, coupled with the performance of the Ford Probe. Not only did it make a winning run, a record-setting 69th event win for Glidden, but it also set a record at 7.25 seconds.
Bob Glidden loves numbers as much as any accountant you've ever met, and you're going to love a 725.
That's great, Steve. You know, I thought I had a good run going, and I had enough of a lead. I thought about letting off, but
off, you?
Well, I want the record as low as it can be. You know, it might not be touched for a while.
Not let somebody else earn points by resetting that record.
That's exactly right. We earned a bonus 200 points here. You know, it's been a great race for us.
I don't recall you having this good an early season, maybe ever.
It's been 4 or 5 years since we've had anything close to this, and never this good.
2 in a row. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Thanks.
Steve, those 2 consecutive victories by Glidden put him in a commanding lead over Morris Johnson Jr. in the Winston Points chase. Remember, though, there are 17 races yet to go this season. The finals in Funny Car and Top Fuel coming up next.
If you're looking for a rotor or a windshield wiper motor, yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
If you got the smarts, then it's the place for parts.
Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
Why run around town when they've got it all down at CarQuest?
Take it from Roy Clark and the repairmen. If it's a really tough part, then don't lose heart. Yeah, you'll find it at CarQuest.
Wouldn't it be great if you could finance a new Kawasaki and put 0 down? And what if you could have up to 60 months to pay? And even better, get a yes or no answer in as little as 5 minutes. The Good Times Credit Plan from your Kawasaki dealer.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
At Houston Raceway Park, 2 races remain at the Fram Supernationals. This is the finals of Funny Car Eliminator. Scott Coletta with his Oldsmobile backing up into his own track, getting set for the single most important race of his short career. Previously campaigning alcohol funny cars and a top fuel dragster, he now is making his very first final round appearance at an NHRA national event. He has got the toughest racer of them all this day. That is the new national record holder, Bruce Larson, who is already staged and ready to go. And Coletta has the advantage. Coletta out near the guardrail. Larson ahead, and problems for Larson. Coletta in the upset of the day wins his first ever national title. His dad, Connie, on the starting line with the biggest smile we've seen in 20 years. Scott Coletta with a 5.57 second elapsed time upsets Bruce Larson. Watch again. They both leave the starting line at what appears to be the same time, but actually Coletta had 0.04 of a second advantage. At that point on the track, the problem set in for both drivers. You see the fire under the car of Larson. That indicated an engine problem. Scott Coletta got near the outside guardrail, but he never lifted. However, Larson was forced to lift, allowing Coletta to slip by and win the race.
Your father has gone absolutely bananas on the starting line.
I'll bet. I cannot believe it. He shut it off too early. He had me covered, and he shut it off.
He had some big-time engine problems, too, though.
Did he? Oh, I don't know. Mine was all over the racetrack. I had my hands full, and I knew going in the deal that I was going to have my work cut out. I didn't think I was going to win because I've only been down the track once today.
You got so close to the wall. Did you think about just throwing in the towel?
I could still see where I was.
Your first win.
These guys are going nuts. Houston ain't ready for us tonight. I can't wait.
It will be party time in Houston, I assure you.
That win by Scott Coletta moved him into the number 2 spot in the Funny Car Winston points chase. Bruce Larson heading the field. The reigning champ, Kenny Bernstein, in 3rd spot. And is this a happy crew? What a question. On the starting line, it is the finals of Top Fuel Eliminator. Larson's teammate, Joe Amato, racing against Gary Ormsby, who is currently leading in the points chase. Amato is the reigning champion. Based on their performances in the semifinals, Amato has a slight advantage, only 0.04 of a second. He ran a 5.04 compared to Gary Ormsby's 5.08. The final staging procedures, a good start, and it's Ormsby with an incredible start. And Ormsby wins his 2nd race in a row, 5.09 seconds to a quicker 5.03 for Joe Amato. But at the start, Ormsby allowed his car to roll forward. He deep staged, but he still was able to prevent red lighting and left the starting line ahead of Amato. You saw the header flames as they came up, first for Ormsby, then for Amato. And at the finish line, that was the margin of victory.
We talked 2 weeks ago on Pomona. We have talked here at the end of Houston Raceway Park about Gary Ormsby, his incredible reaction times, the way this car reacts. You have won the Fram Supernationals 5.09 to a 5.03.
Oh, I love it. I like to win. I don't care how I do it, but it's great.
Were you concerned when it appeared to have overstaged?
No, no, I didn't know it did it?
Well, the staging lights were flickering, yeah.
Oh, were they? No, I didn't even catch that. I just concentrated on the light.
Boy, just a brilliant drive. This car's so consistent in yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you, Steve. It's good to win again.
Indeed, I can't recall in a long time Winter Nationals winners enjoying such success at the 2nd race in the season as Gary Ormsby and Bob Glidden have here.
And Steve, those back-to-back victories for Gary Ormsby did the same for him in Top Fuel as they did for Bob Glidden in Pro Stock. Ormsby with a commanding lead over Joe Amato in the Winston points chase. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Houston Raceway Park. The 1989 NHRA Fram Supernationals has been brought to you by Fram Bendix Autolite, all quality parts of Allied Automotive, and by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Budweiser Beechwood Aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Coverage of the NHRA Fram Supernationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports.
World-class arm wrestling, a sport in which concentration, determination, and explosive power must come together in split-second timing. A sport where muscle mass alone provides little advantage. Here, the cry, "Get a grip," holds special meaning and is oftentimes the difference between lightning-quick victory and sudden defeat. Today, from the